One of the things that I think gets lost in the messaging around a carnivore diet is that the goal is to be as healthy as possible, not to see who can be the most strict. I do think, though, in order to be as healthy as possible, we have to understand what the true definition of a carnivore diet is so that we then can figure out what works for us in order to live that healthy life long term. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura, and I first heard about a carnivore diet over 5.5 years ago, and it completely changed my life and my husband's life and my mom's life and so many people around me. And now I try to share that message of what works for us and a little bit about carnivore with all of you. In this video, I want to break down the most basics. What is a carnivore diet, and explain maybe why some people do things that other people don't, yet we all consider it carnivore. When I first started 5.5 years ago, the carnivore diet was a very simple thing that everybody was doing pretty much the same way. And now it's turned into a huge variety of different ways, all of which can be successful to people depending on their health context. This video is sponsored by Element. Element is an electrolyte drink mix that's perfectly formulated for people who are on a low carb, keto, or even a carnivore diet. They have an unflavored version, which is literally just sodium, magnesium, and potassium, and that's it. Something that I incorporate every morning. It gives me a lot of the electrolytes that I need. It prevents me from getting leg cramps, headaches. It gives me a little boost of energy from helping me to stay hydrated throughout the day. They also have some flavors that are sweetened with stevia. The rest of my family is a big fan of the chocolate flavor, the citrus, and their new flavor, grapefruit. If you want to try a free sample pack, Element has a deal for all my subscribers where you can get this sample pack free with any purchase, and it lets you try all 8 of their permanent flavors. You can just go to drinkelement.com/Laura Spath. That's DRINKLMNT.com/Laura Spath. Thank you to Element for sponsoring this video. In the most simple of terms, a carnivore diet is a meat-only diet. I always joke with my coworkers and say, if a vegan will eat it, I'm not gonna eat it. And if a vegan won't eat it, put it on my plate. The reason for that is that meat is the most nutrient-dense food on the planet, and there's a lot of other things in fruits and plants that might be causing you issues, which is why a lot of us choose to avoid those. So in the most simple terms, it is meat, oftentimes eggs, and some people include dairy. So anything from the animal kingdom is typically what people on a carnivore diet would eat. The reason why it works and why it is so powerful is for 2 main reasons. What is included, which is meat, the most nutrient-dense food on the planet, and what's not included. And that can be plants, sugars, carbohydrates, seed oils, all of those things that can potentially cause people a lot of negative reactions and cause them a lot of health issues. How strict you need to be on a carnivore diet is really going to depend on why you started this in the first place. If you're sick and dealing with autoimmune conditions, you are going to have to lean a lot more on the strict side of things versus somebody like myself who came to this with just looking for weight loss and improving my overall metabolic health. Vegetables are a plant, and it is true that plants contain toxins as a defense mechanism in order to not be eaten. The majority of plants on the planet are not edible for people or for animals. That's simply how they defend themselves and ensure that they can keep on growing and thriving and not be eaten constantly. That's why fruit tastes really sweet, though, to the counter, is that fruit wants to be eaten, so then you will digest their seeds and spread the seed on the ground in order for it to grow and flourish. It's just how the cycle of life works. A lot of people find benefits from cutting out all plants completely. If you have autoimmune conditions, those plants could be causing you a lot of flare-ups and issues. People find healing with their skin, with their joints, with their digestive system. For me personally, any type of plant causes my digestive system to slow down, and I have a lot of bloating, constipation, hemorrhoids, like terrible digestive issues from including plants. Yes, that means fiber. Carnivores don't eat fiber, and most people find that when they cut out all fiber completely from their diet, their digestive system improves because meat is able to be absorbed easily in your body. All of that fiber and all of the vegetables are just giving you roughage that your body cannot absorb, and it needs to process it out. So while there's 2 reasons with the vegetables, it can cause people a lot of bloating and digestive issues, as well as it can contain toxins that are going to cause your autoimmune issues, your inflammation to flare up. There are people in the carnivore community who push that to the extreme, though, and say that all plants are trying to kill you. You should never eat any plants whatsoever for that reason. This is where it gets into, you have to figure out how it affects you and what reacts for you. I'm able to include spices simply because my goals are weight loss and healing metabolic issues, and I don't have a negative reaction from those things. So really, whether or not you include any vegetables or no vegetables simply is going to depend on how you react from that. Fruit and honey are things that have been lumped in with a carnivore diet as of the last several of years, simply because there are people who think that they are healthier plants that you should eat. And while that might be true, the majority of us who come to carnivore looking for healing from type 2 diabetes, from insulin resistance, looking to lose weight, cannot include fruit because fruit is sugar. Your body does not understand if you are eating fruit or if you are eating cane sugar. A banana has the same amount of sugar in it as a Kit Kat. And for somebody who was pre-diabetic and is looking to lose weight and lower insulin resistance, I cannot include a banana in the same way that I cannot include a Kit Kat. Also, my brain recognizes that sugar and it triggers me. So while for some people, having a handful of blueberries occasionally within their carnivore diet is not going to negatively affect them, for me, that is going to cause a trigger with the sugar where I'm going to go down this rabbit hole of eating more and more and more and not being able to stop myself. Your body does not need sugar or carbs or fruit for fuel. I am getting all of the fuel and the nutrition and the energy that I need from eating meat and fat. And there's actually this tremendous weight that is lifted from me personally by abstaining from all fruit and carbs and sugar completely. Supplements are one of those things that can be beneficial in the beginning, especially if your body is trying to heal. A lot of people find benefits in taking probiotics or gut support supplements, something to bring their body back to this baseline level of healthy. But the majority of carnivores do not need supplements long-term because they are getting all the nutrients that they need from the meat that they're eating. Eggs are an extremely nutrient-dense food, and most carnivores include them on a regular basis. It helps balance the budget. You get a lot of great nutrients from them, and it's just a really easy thing to incorporate into your carnivore diet. Dairy, I feel like, is one of those things that is a lot more split within the carnivore community. The majority of people find that limiting dairy to some extent is helpful. Too much dairy can cause inflammation. It can be very addicting. We know that a lot of us just can eat a whole brick of cheese in one sitting, so we have to be careful about incorporating that. Things like cheese, sour cream, whole fat yogurts are things that people can include in a healthy carnivore diet. A lot of people, like myself included, though, find we have to limit it. My stance on cheese is that cheese is a condiment. So I'll sprinkle some feta cheese on a steak, I'll dip something in some sour cream, but dairy for me is something that I have to limit to ensure that I'm not gaining weight or it's not causing me inflammation. The question of how much am I supposed to be eating, how much fat, how much protein, what are my macros, how often can I eat, are often questions that come up when people are starting a carnivore diet. And there is a wide variety of answers on the internet. Everything from people giving you a very specific set of macros to people who are telling you you should just eat whenever you're hungry and stop when you're full. Both of those can work depending on what you're coming from. I am somebody who can eat all the time, even when I am not hungry. So eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full is harder for me because I don't have that working knowledge in my brain of being able just to eat when I'm hungry. So I need something a little more specific than that. I do think, though, the goal is long-term for you not to have to track fat and protein macros. We don't want to have to live the rest of our lives being able to track things like this or live within that strictness. The goal is for you to be able to just live your life, and this just happens to be what you eat. But it's hard to get to there in the beginning if you don't know what is necessary. I think the most important thing is that you focus on getting in enough protein. I really like the calculation that a lot of experts share of needing 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. So if your lean body mass or your ideal weight is 150 pounds, you should be trying to get 150 grams of protein in a day, not like weight of the meat, but grams of protein in order to maintain all of the necessary functions that your body needs. There's a lot of messaging around the benefits of doing extremely high fat and then also doing extremely lean. We see this like 80% fat. We also see the protein sparing modified fast. And I think that both of them can be beneficial, for a short period of time in order to heal a very specific issue. So the people who are doing something that's high fat can be beneficial for healing your hormones. And if your body has been depleted or restricted, you likely need a lot of fat in order to be able to get your body back up to baseline. I haven't seen that be an effective way to lose weight personally, just because I want my body to tap into stored body fat, not to eat a bunch of excess fat. Then I'm getting all of the energy that I need from the food that I'm eating, and my body's not going to make that switch in order to burning body fat. We also see the protocol of the protein sparing modified fast, which in short, it's essentially eating extremely lean. That can be beneficial for a short amount of time for things like weight loss. I think men find it more beneficial than women because women typically need a little more fat in order for our hormones to function properly. My husband Chris likes to incorporate 1 or 2 lean days on occasion just to help his weight stay managed rather than fasting completely or cutting out all food. So it's one of those things that you can turn your fat up or down depending on your goals and if you're stuck. But I think personally living in these extremes of high fat or extremely low fat are not going to be beneficial for your health long term. And it's also not something that's easy to just manage and live without having to think about it. We don't want to be living in that extreme or strictness long term. Eating no plants and no sugar, no carbs, that's hard enough. We want to be able just to then make it work within our lifestyle and make it sustainable for us. Fasting is not necessarily something that is in a carnivore diet, but it goes right alongside with it. I personally think that it's extremely beneficial and necessary for people who are trying to lose weight and reverse their type 2 diabetes and heal metabolic damage to incorporate a lot of that fasting. It is not required on a carnivore diet. I think it just can be helpful for things like weight loss. When you are looking to get started on a carnivore diet, the first thing that you have to ask yourself is, why are you doing this? And that is going to determine how strict of an approach you need to take in the first place. If you have autoimmune conditions and you are coming from this in order to heal something serious, I would encourage you to do this as an elimination diet. Go to meat, salt, and water and spend some time doing that to eliminate all of the things that could potentially be causing you issues. And then once you've reached that baseline and you understand what's affecting me is being caused by food, or you might have to go down the rabbit hole of figuring out what else is your issue, then you can start adding things back in and figuring out what's negatively affecting you and what other things might you be able to have long term, like eggs or dairy or some spices, or maybe even a couple of plants if you wanted to. Then there's other people like myself who started obese and overweight, and we were just looking to lose weight. I gradually cut out foods, mainly because I didn't know what a carnivore diet was at the time, but I just had to cut out foods over time as I went. If I had a bite of a vegetable, it wasn't going to be the end of the world in terms of my weight loss. I don't want people to put so much pressure on themselves to be strict carnivore when their goal is to lose weight and be healthy, so much so that if they eat a vegetable that happens to come on their plate in a restaurant, then they're feeling like a failure and they give up. Whether or not you include plants is really going to be based on how you feel. Same thing with sweeteners, same thing with coffee, all of these things. You have to figure out what works for you. But understanding that a true carnivore diet is going to be meat, salt, water, eggs, dairy, things that come from an animal kingdom. And by that definition, maybe I'm not even carnivore because I include things like spices, because I eat some pickles occasionally, because I don't keep it down to meat, salt, water. I have a sweetener in an electrolyte occasionally. And maybe that's okay. Maybe I need to change the name of my channel though and what I share. But my goal isn't to be a strict carnivore forever. Our goal is to heal. Our goal is not to put a label on what we are eating and making sure that we are sticking within what we consider carnivore. You have to figure out what works for you. I love this concept and I really focus on it on pick your one non-negotiable thing. So for me, it's don't eat sugar. And then beyond that, if I ate some spices or I ate some dairy or I had a bite of something else, it really helps me to have this winning mindset in order to stick to this, in order to be consistent long term. And it's what I've found has helped me to not only lose the weight, but then be able to keep it off. If you want to ask me questions, if you want to see more content from me, if you're just looking for some people to run things by or have some community support, you can come find us on Locals. There's a lot of people there who are strict carnivore, but there's a lot of people who fall more into low carb keto. Like there's a spectrum of people who are finding success, and we're all just there to help identify areas that we can tweak, ways we can improve, and encourage each other to live these healthy lives long term. So I hope you find a community and a way of eating that works for you.